The other major type of volcanoes are called stratovolcanoes. And strato refers to different layers. And as we'll see, these volcanoes are very layered. If we cut away a volcano like this stratovolcano, and looked at it from the side, what we would see is the pipe here, which would connect the magma chamber to the surface here. Everything is coming out the vent, but the important thing here is two different things are coming out of the vent. One is the lava flows that are shown in black here, and those would be, there were also lava flows associated with shield volcanoes, and one thing we might notice about this is these lava flows tend to die out when we move further away from the volcano. They don't just keep flowing on forever. At some distance, they just kind of die out. But the other important layering in these stratovolcanoes is this pyroclastic debris. This is all the stuff that comes out of the vent as either solids or liquid that solidifies in the air like volcanic bombs. And all of that stuff is thrown out of the volcano and deposited somewhere. But the bigger things and more of the material is deposited closer to the pipe and the vent of the volcano. So as we can see here, a lot of these layers of pyroclastic material are thinning down as we move further and further away from the volcano. And both the fact that the lava flows are thinning out and the pyroclastic material is getting thinner and thinner gives the volcanoes this inverted V sort of shape, this classic volcanic shape that we always see in postcards. Here's Mount Jefferson in Oregon, and we can see this is a classic example of a stratovolcano. It has that inverted V shape, not a perfectly symmetric V, but an inverted V shape. Sometimes lava flows or pyroclastic debris come out in different directions over time, but they kind of build up from the central vent and create this classic looking stratovolcano. Pacific Northwest in Northern California, Oregon, and Washington, a classic chain of stratovolcanoes. And these stratovolcanoes have been very active over the last 4,000 years. You can see by far the most active of these is Mount St. Helens in Washington state, but also many other volcanoes in the last 4,000 years have have erupted in this volcanic range. And of course, we know this volcanic range is here because of the Juan de Fuca plate, which is offshore in the Pacific Ocean, being subducted underneath the North American plate and setting up this whole system here. A classic example of a stratovolcano is Mount St. Helens. And Mount St. Helens very much changed its morphology, the shape of the volcano, after its 1980 eruption. This is what Mount St. Helens looked like before the 1980 eruption. This is Mount St. Helens here, and this is a lake called Spirit Lake that was in front of it. And then after the eruption, a lot of the top of Mount St. Helens was actually blown off by the force of the pyroclastic debris coming out of the volcano, and Spirit Lake was filled in with a lot of pyroclastic material, and the whole kind of shape and look of Mount St. Helens changed after the 1980 eruption. But over time, this will build up into a new kind of inverted V-shaped volcano that will look much like the other stratovolcanoes.